The Georgia Bulldogs are the best team in America. So this is my question. Why is there no real Heisman contender for them? Stetson Bennett, your starting quarterback, is currently in Las Vegas the number 6 odds to win the Heisman Trophy. That's great. I'm not saying Stetson Bennett shouldn't be considered for the Heisman Trophy, but you talk about the award with a lot of people in those circles, and they'll say Drake May, C.J. Stroud, Blake Corum, Hendon Hooker. Those are all guys that deserve to be considered for the award, but conventional wisdom and history would say the Heisman Trophy goes to the best player on the best team. So Georgia, being the best team, why is nobody being talked about for that little bronze statue? I think there's a couple of things that play into it. When you watch Georgia, as an offense at least, they spread it around. Like looking at the numbers, tell me who's the bell cow of that offense. Tell me who's the guy that you would say deserves to get the Heisman Trophy. 8 different guys have caught a touchdown this year. Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers lead the team with 4 touchdown receptions. They've also scored in different ways. Okay, the running game. Let's talk about the running game. Daijun Edwards, 497 yards, 7 touchdowns, 93 carries. Well, you also have a really solid back in Kenny McIntosh. 92 carries, 6 touchdowns, 425 yards. Numbers are nearly identical. The point being, they spread the wealth. If you were to tell me Daijun Edwards deserved to, be considered for the Heisman Trophy, I'd say, okay, I'll buy that. But then you say, what about Kenny McIntosh? He's got the similar numbers. Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey. These guys are just freak shows that are all bringing their best to the table. And so it's kind of this funny situation where, as an offense, you have this really homogenous operation. Every single piece of this offense is contributing at a really high level. So how do you pick just one guy to be your Heisman Trophy frontrunner or your Heisman Trophy guy, more or less, the best player on the best team? Because it's a very real conversation you could have about the best player on this best team. We're going to talk about Stetson Bennett in just a second here, but they're so balanced. Anytime you talk about the Heisman Trophy winner, a lot of times that individual is doing something to help compensate for what his team, I don't want to say doesn't have, but he's accounting for a lot of what they're doing production-wise. This team is extremely well balanced. 50% run, 50% pass, the offense and the defense. I mean, if you were to tell me, or ask me the question rather, who do you think, or rather what side of the ball do you think for Georgia is the leader of that program? You say it's the offense. I'd say I agree, 41 points a game, top 5 in the country. You say it's the defense. The defense has that edge. They're freakishly fast. Got a lot of guys on that side of the ball that are going to play in the NFL on Sundays. I'd say I agree with you there too. Giving up a little less than 12 points a game. They're number 2 in the country in terms of points allowed. Like, do you see where I'm going with this? The dominance of Georgia in some way is not in some way. The dominance of Georgia itself is a team effort, a team mentality, a team contribution to where it's kind of like all these guys are working together in tandem and nobody's really getting outshined. They're all shining bright together, which is funny to say out loud, but it's sort of the fact of the matter. When you talk about the best player on the best team, a lot of times you're talking about the quarterback for good reason. They're going to take the brunt of the criticism. They're going to take the majority of the praise. We get that. Why is that not the case for Stetson Bennett? I've said it before on this program. I think America just kind of has a Stetson Bennett stigma. Well, for one, because he's improved a lot over his time at Georgia. So you look at what he did in his earlier years, and he was good. He wasn't phenomenal, but he was good. He's gotten substantially better as the year has worn on. I mean, look at last year. Talk about Georgia's offense last year, and it was, they're winning with Stetson Bennett, in spite of Stetson Bennett in some circumstances. The defense is so good. Well, this year, Stetson Bennett's 47th year playing college football, they're winning because of Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett is operating this offense and getting them into plays that, quite frankly, he wasn't doing a year ago, to my understanding. I mean, he's done so much more and brought so much more to the table for them as an offense. He is their alpha dog. He is their leader. But America still remembers him as that guy that Georgia was winning in spite of. They remember him as the walk-on, the guy who took a while to start. He doesn't have the same star power as a Bryce Young or a Caleb Williams or a Drake May. He's not putting up those numbers either. But the thing that gets lost in translation, they're not asking to put up those kind of numbers. They're not asking Stetson Bennett to go throw for 50 touchdowns. That's not how this program is built. Like we said, they spread it around. They're balanced. They're literally 50-50 in terms of running and passing. They're running for 200. They're throwing for 300. I don't know how you can point to a star in that whole operation. Stetson Bennett right now, 14 touchdowns throwing, 7 touchdowns rushing. They're not asking to be a game breaker. They're asking him to be the quarterback of the best team in America and allow this operation to go off without a hitch, get it to your playmakers, get it to Brock Bowers, get it to Ladd McConkey, get it to Darnell Washington, hand the ball off to your studs. Like, that's what they're asking them to do at Georgia. And I will promise you this, Kirby Smart would love to see one of his guys win the Heisman Trophy, but I promise you he would much rather them play complimentary football and capture another national title. And that's what they're tracking to do right now. The mission is go 1-0 each week. Everybody know your role. Everybody take your 1/11th and let's ride. Like, that's how they get down at Georgia. And I want to stress this. They don't ask anybody to carry anything extra because of how elite their talent is. They say, you are special at your position. Do your job. Do it at the highest level possible, and we're going to be good. You don't need to do anything extra. Hendon Hooker, for my money, one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the country. Tennessee says, okay, Hendon Hooker, run the offense, throw for a lot of yards, throw for a lot of touchdowns. That's how this offense is going to go. The run game plays a factor into that. We can talk about Tennessee another time. We have talked about them a lot, but that's not what they're asking Stetson Bennett to do. You hear what I'm saying here? It changes week to week as well. The flavor for Georgia changes every single week. But the bottom line is, Georgia is the best team in America with a lot of phenomenal stars on their team, and they just keep doing what they're asked to do. There's no extra load on anybody. And because of that, you got to deal with everybody from Georgia week in and week out. You can't just take one guy away. Because if you take away Brock Bowers, you got Darnell Washington. When they get A.D. Mitchell back is when it's going to be scary. But the fact of the matter is, the complementary football is why they're winning games and why you have nobody being talked about as a Heisman Trophy frontrunner or a Heisman Trophy winner. And I promise you, they are just fine with that in Athens, Georgia. This has been The Hard Count. I'm J.D. Pickell. Nick Brake does the real heavy lifting. Really quickly, follow me on the social channels at J.D. Pickell on Twitter and on Instagram. We do a lot of things over there that we can involve you in so we get the most content that you want to see on this program. All right? Subscribe to the channel like I already mentioned. You drive this whole operation. We're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.